Hey, hello, Sacred Friends. Welcome back. I am Lori Andrus, and welcome to this episode of the Luminary Life podcast. Ah, I'm so excited to be connecting with you today. I am back from Tucson. I am so happy to be back. And what a great adventure. Just wow. We're going to lean into some conversation about this year's Gem and Mineral Show. We're going to talk a little bit about the overall vibe, some of the stones that just really got my attention, and the messages that they're bringing forward for this time, and some of the other little bits of magic and insights and things that have shown up along the way. If you caught last week's episode, you know that I shared a little bit about how I stay grounded as I move through the show, what types of things I look for, just little tips and different reflections on previous experiences. And you also know that I shared that it's been 11 years since the last time I went to the show. That is a very long time. And in that episode, I shared that there's multiple different reasons. And for whatever reason, lots of reasons, I just didn't make it back. But that statement kind of left a little curiosity in my mind. It made me wonder a little bit more about what some of the deeper reasons were, or what did I do instead if I wasn't going to the show? I can fill that in with, yes, I have my vendors. They have online, really great online websites. I order through there, et cetera, et cetera. But I was really curious what underlying theme emerged, or what gift did Tucson offer me that shifted the way I was doing my work over the past many years? And there are lots of things, but one of the big things struck me almost immediately. And I kind of had just like a laugh out loud sort of moment because it was so obvious. But in the last episode, I shared how one of the vendors I met at one of the shows was from the Midwest, from the Wisconsin area. And he had mined fluorite from a place in Southern Illinois called Cave and Rock. And he was selling it at this event. And that to me made me really curious about what is all available in my local area, in some of the areas throughout the United States that I am not aware of. And it prompted me to go on a journey of discovery. And that was so much fun. So it led me to taking a geology class, getting familiar with the local geology, getting familiar with what makes this Midwest region unique, how are different rock formations created, and what ones are abundant here. And so dove really deep into that, and found myself going to different mines, including the quartz mines in Arkansas, the Herkimer diamond mines for Herkimer quartz in Herkimer, New York, going north to Thunder Bay, Ontario, where I mined the amethyst up there, which is so incredibly beautiful. Spending time around Lake Superior, getting familiar with the stones that are abundant there, from thompsonite to chlorastrolite to the copper region in the Keweenaw Peninsula of Upper Michigan, to basalt, as simple as basalt and the energy that that offers. Some of the local stones here in around Lake Michigan, which are a lot of corals, fossilized corals. The time that I spent getting to know and experiencing those was so rich. It really opened up a new connection with the crystals and stones. It deepened my relationship with them and really allowed me to understand and connect with them in very different and more meaningful ways. So I just loved having that insight come through, and I felt like it was something I really wanted to share with you because it felt significant. I think that's a big part of what I do in my work, is connecting with the earth and then connecting with the crystals and stones and the messages that they want to share with us for the times that we're moving through, and the experiences that we're navigating, collective narratives that are running working through that we're navigating and finding ourselves looking for deeper insight, deeper understanding, ways to move through in an empowered and meaningful way. And the crystals and stones are really interesting and great allies for understanding what's unfolding here on earth. They've been through so many different experiences, right? They've been tumbled, they've been pushed, they've been stretched, they've been created and recreated. They've been a part of the earth's cycles, the processes that are ongoing here, and they understand the creation cycles on really deep levels. And that energy of understanding creative cycles, creation processes, really is what is a central theme in my Stone Speak Oracle. That energy of allowing ourselves to creatively bring something into form and working with the crystals and stones to do that. And I think they're just incredible allies for that. Now, if you've been in my world for some time, you know that my jewelry collections often reflect the crystals and stones that I have picked up along my travels, things that I've discovered along the way, and things that have wanted to be a part of the collections because they have messages for this time. So this has been such a central part. But this year, it was time to head back down to the show to be in that big energy, that big container of energy where crystals and stones from all over the world come together and have a meet and greet. I know. It's kind of a silly way to put it, but it really feels like that. It's like they all get to come together and hang out and be in this beautiful container of space together. And I think one of the things I get really curious about is what is going to be the vibe around the show. Now, when I talk about the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, I know that for myself, before I went, my initial thought of what this was one big event in one location. But it really is many, many, many crystal and gem shows throughout the city of Tucson, mostly on the western side of the city. Mostly, we'll put that in air quotes. And so there's throughout the city, different locations, from hotels to parking lots to sports arenas to just big areas. And tents will be put up and they will be filled with vendors from all over the world. Now, I really focused on two specific shows, one being the GL&W, which is a gem lapidary and show that really is more specific to jewelry creators. So there's crystal and stone beads, there's metals and materials for creating beautiful adornments. And then there are also some jewelry vendors and stuff like that there as well. But that show, and then another show known as the Kino Show, Kino being a sports complex. So it's at the Kino Sports Complex, hence the name. And between those two shows, that's largely where I did my shopping and spent my time. And this was over the course of about 4 days. Now, wow. It really is a lot of energy. And I think people wonder, what do these days look like? They're really full days immersed in shopping and getting into the shows, connecting with different vendors. But because I know what the energy is like, it's important to me to create opportunities and time to go hiking either before or after each day. It's just an essential piece. It's what helps me just get into a nice rhythm, slow down, unwind, clear my head, clear my thoughts, and focus back in on some of my intentions, some of the things I'm looking for, where perhaps there are gaps in what I've found or have not found yet. So I shared with you that I focused really on two shows at this event. The GL&W, that Gem and Lapidary one, it's one that I've gone to every year. And I would say that since I was there in 2015, I would say it's about 25% to 50% smaller than it was back then, which really surprised me. But now keep in mind, it being smaller still means that there were at least 4 tenths the size of football fields filled with vendors. So it is significant. It is not by any means small. It's large, very, very large. And the Keno show, that one, I think, more than quadrupled since the last time I was there. My head is still trying to sort and organize that show. It was just so full, and I have to say, it was really fun. The vibe for that show is always really fun. There's music playing, there are people having fun, there's a lightness around that event that I really appreciate. So let's lean in a little bit to the overall vibe of the show this year, and I think there's a piece that comes in from my experience and time on the trails that wants to be brought into this conversation, and that is the trails and the desert was in bloom. And this is the first time I have experienced the desert in bloom. It is something I've always wanted to experience. And this year I got to. I was just delighted to hike through the desert floor and just see so much in bloom. The color, the hummingbirds buzzing around, the butterflies. Oh my gosh, it just made me like just delighted. I felt so much joy. And that feeling of joy actually rippled throughout the show. But it wasn't just this like exuberant joy. It was a very steady, even, present joy. Does that make sense? Like imagine within yourself, like just being deeply, deeply present within your heart, within your center, and the delight of connecting with people who are also meeting you in that space. And that is what I felt again and again and again. And it wasn't just at the show, it was on the trail, it was at restaurants, it was when I was out and about. People were in a place of desiring to truly connect. There was a lot of laughter, a lot of jovial spirit, like playful spirit. There was light in people's eyes. And that to me was really special to see and experience a space so filled with presence and joy. Yeah, I think I was, gosh, I wasn't really expecting that. And not that I think that there's, this, not that I think people are not present or not joyful, but there is this kind of, I'm there to do my work. When I go to shows, my head is in that place of I'm shopping, I am buying, I am visioning and creating the next, evolution of my work. I'm in that kind of focused, hyper-focused mode. And I know a lot of people are often in that space as well. So in my mind, I don't really think of it from that light, playful, creative, present with each other, pausing to really see each other sort of energy. But that really was the vibe. And, there's a couple experiences that I had that I want to share with you because I feel like they really punctuated that energy. And one was I was shopping at a booth where I bought most of my jewelry components. So like lots and lots of stones, lots and lots of beads, absolutely gorgeous. I just kept walking around with my little basket, adding in, adding in, adding in. And as I was kind of like working in a specific area, I probably spent about 45 minutes in this one little area looking at little beads for earrings, and maybe even longer. It may have been close to an hour. My body was just getting so tired as I was like going through, but I was also really excited. My energy was really delighted. Ideas were being sparked, vision, connection, seeing the ripple of pieces from myself out into the community. It was just really beautiful. And as I was doing this, the gentleman who I am assuming is owner of the company was standing there and kind of just overseeing. And this particular section was really near the spot where you go to check out. And that's kind of where he was standing. And we kind of had a couple little engagements that were just cute and sweet. And I really thanked him for what he offered, because what he had was different than what I see at most other booths. Actually, it's something I have not seen anywhere else. And they're so perfectly matched for one, they're unique. Two, I think my community, I think you are going to love them. They're going to be amazing pieces. They're going to create amazing pieces. And three, they're well done. And that to me just like checked all the little boxes. And so I wanted to convey that to him, and I did. And he really appreciated hearing that. And he kind of joked with me, like, oh, you can get more, you can get more. And we had fun little conversation. And as I finished up, I brought my basket over to him and I handed it to him, and he looked at me with just really kind eyes and said, "Would you like to sit down?" Because it was going to take some time to go through and price out the box or my basket. And he gestured to a chair, and I said, "Yeah, that'd be really great." And so I walked over and I sat down, and he walked past me and down an aisle a little ways, reached under a table and pulled out a bottle of water, turned and handed it to me. And I just was like, wow, wow. Before he jumped in to settle accounts or exchange money or any of that or add things up, he paused to make sure I was comfortable, I was at ease, I was relaxed. And I thought that was really beautiful. I felt his presence, and I felt like he also felt what I was experiencing in that space, which was a lot of joy, deep appreciation, and yeah, lots of gratitude for what he was offering. And I could feel an energy behind what was there. And I think, this is one of the things, people always ask, how do you know if it's in integrity? How do you know if what a person is selling is okay to buy? If like all of those things, like how do you know? And I don't think it's really easy to answer those questions. I think we can ask questions to find out. I think we can talk with vendors about some of those pieces. But really, what it comes down to is, does the vibe match for you? Does it feel nourishing and expansive? Does it feel fulfilling? Do you feel in alignment with it? And when all of this unfolded and I sat down and I was drinking my water, which I really needed because the water bottle that I had was nearing the end. And yes, I had more in the car, but the car's a long ways away, and I just could feel that match, that sync of energy that was so beautiful. It was like I already knew it in the shopping, but then that moment just anchored it in even more. And that level of presence, that level of true recognition, being seen, that was there. And I thought that was really, really special. The next experience that I had that I I continue to laugh about this one because it's so cute, is that I was moving through another big tent. And as I was moving through, I came out in between kind of a couple areas, and there was an open space. And at the doorway was a couple police officers as security. There was a security guard by another doorway. And rightfully so, there's a lot of high-priced products in this area. And I came in and I just kind of took in the space and noticed that to my right, there was a massive amethyst geode. And I just looked at it and I was like, whoa, wow. And there was like really nobody else in this space. And I felt like, wow, I have this private moment with this geode. And at the same time, I was like, huh, how interesting. Well, I want to take some pictures in front of it. And there was this little amethyst kind of stone in front that was really beautifully polished, and it looked like a stool. And so I asked the security guard who was standing just to the right of it if I could sit down on this stool. And she just looked at me and she smiled and she goes, "Oh, you can sit right inside the amethyst." And I went, "No." And she said, "Yeah." And she walked over to the amethyst, picked up a pillow, not kidding, put it right in the center. And she said, "Here you go. Enjoy." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." So, of course, I sat inside this big, huge amethyst geode and I took some pictures and some videos and just enjoyed the experience of like being engulfed in amethyst energy. It was so beautiful. I was so grateful. And she like just had such a delight, kind of giggling at my delight and surprise and giggling at me, playing with my camera and doing all the dorky things that that I do sometimes. And we just had a really beautiful moment. And I think those are just two experiences that really punctuate the entire show. There were so many, countless experiences, countless interactions, countless moments. There's so many layers. And to me, that energy of joy, presence, and then supported by the desert in bloom, that was really beautiful. I would definitely say that was the overall vibe of the show this year. And that felt nourishing. It also felt nourishing from the place of knowing that there's so much going on in the world that is opposite this energy, that doesn't reflect presence, or it reflects the challenges of what's happening in the world. And to have that balanced out a little bit felt really magical. Okay, the next thing I want to share with you that I have written in my notes here is I want to share some of the stones that I noticed abundantly, the ones that just kept getting my attention. And when I say that, it's what I'm speaking about are the stones that kept getting my attention from one booth to the next. So I'd catch them in one booth and I'd think, wow, I've never seen them in this form before. And so many. And then I'd see them again in another booth and they'd be in another completely different form. And on and on and on throughout the show. So there were a couple that really caught my attention. And the first one was prehnite. Yeah. So prehnite is a stone of peace, inner peace. I always call it peaceful prehnite. It just kind of flows together nicely, nice little alliteration. But the peaceful prehnite, it helps us to slow down, be really present within ourselves. And it invites us to return to our true nature. That's the message it brings into the Stone Speak Oracle. It's time to return to your true nature. Now, prehnite is one of the monthly allies throughout 2026. It shows up for the month of July, and it really invites us to slow down, be present, and to connect in with ourselves, to remember the truth of who we are, to remember the unique gifts we bring to the world, to remember the ways that we offer our light, our medicine to the world, and how that is essential, how that's important. A big part of peaceful prehnite is slowing down and being present within the moment and being present within ourselves. And recognizing the beautiful intersection of the ways who we are contributes to the moment. Yeah. So prehnite was one of the stones that I kept finding all over the place. The next thing I saw was agates. Agates. Like, okay, I know agates are pretty common, but for whatever reason, they just kept getting my attention this year. And let me tell you a little preview, there are many agate pendants coming into pieces of jewelry in the coming weeks and months. Woo! Everything from beautiful reds and blacks to blue lace agate, moss agate. Gosh, all these different forms of agate that really were wanting to be seen, wanting to, um, to connect. Agate invites us to really find a calm, steady, grounded, stable energy amidst the storms of life. When a storm shows up, when things get bumpy, when the current begins to move really rapidly, it is an ally for finding stability. And I think with all that is shaking up and changing in our world, this is a really, truly incredible ally for this time. So let yourself notice if you have agates, you have prehnite in your collection, or if you notice yourself out and about and you see a piece and it just calls to you. This is a good ally for this changing time, finding your inner peace, returning to your true nature, being stable, grounded as the world moves around you. The next piece that showed up a lot was tourmalinated quartz. It's been a while since I've worked with tourmalinated quartz, but goodness, it is one that I've always loved, just absolutely loved. Tourmalinated quartz is essentially black tourmaline. Like you notice those beautiful, nice little pieces within a piece of quartz. Now, it could be clear quartz, it could be milky quartz, but within the quartz, and you see those beautiful bands. There was a lot of tourmalinated quartz and pieces that I bought for jewelry and pieces that I picked up just for my own personal collection. Now, the beautiful thing about tourmalinated quartz is that black tourmaline reminds us that we are safe and we are protected. Clear quartz invites us to plant the seeds of our dreams. And when we work with black tourmaline and quartz together, when they have literally grown together, we are invited to remember that the earth is holding a beautiful, safe, and sacred container for the vision that we land, for the ideas that we plant here on the earth, so that they can grow, they can be created. It reminds us that our vision is safe, it is held, it is loved, it's protected. How cool is that? I think this year is largely a year for landing vision, landing ideas, landing dreams, letting them be planted in the earth. And if we allow that to be supported by black tourmaline and held within a safe container, the possibilities for them to grow and bloom abundantly are infinite. Now, clear quartz is actually the 2026 Crystal Ally of the Year. So now you get a sense there's another little piece there with it that wants to show up and be an ally. Okay, two other stones that showed up in abundance. One was lapis lazuli. Oh my goodness, lapis everywhere. So much lapis. And the other was chrysoprase. Chrysoprase is our stone of the month for December, and that invites us to invite hope into our hearts, to let ourselves really sink into the place of possibility and really come with a sunny optimism as we approach those possibilities. And then lapis lazuli connects us with our third eye, our sense of vision. It invites us to tap into the energy of vision, to dream, to see, to imagine new possibilities. Okay, the last thing that I have on my list here is around how do you choose, how do you select, how do you filter, how do you stay focused? It's kind of that energy, that theme. And I think this is one of the things that we develop as we spend more and more time in rock shops, in nature, spending time looking and connecting with the stones in their natural environments, as we go to different shows, as we spend time getting to know crystals and stones. We begin to naturally filter. And part of that is because we begin to recognize what we're needing, what's going to support us, and what is or isn't a match at that time. And we begin to filter those distractions, the things that might distract us from what is important. So I am already kind of cueing you into one of the things that I think is essential when we go shopping. And that is to be focused in on what is our intention? Where are we looking for support in our lives? Where are we finding ourselves challenged? What difficulty is, in our world? Where are we looking to create opportunities? We all have different intentions, different desires at different times. And what I find is that letting myself focus in my intention a little bit or a lot helps immensely. Now, for example, at this last Tucson experience, I really had a couple different things that I was looking for specifically. I was specifically looking for loose stones for the seasonal treasure box bundles, for another project that I have going on, and for my own personal collection. And then I was looking for jewelry, and I was looking for inspiration for new ideas, new designs. I was looking for new styles of stones that are laid out or cut differently than what I've experienced in the past. And I was looking for the stones that would spark me for this time. And I was really curious as I was moving through. So I had, kind of my list of what I was looking for, right? I also had this awareness of what some of the themes are right now and for this coming year, and things that are showing up on collective levels, and curiosity around what stones wanted to come forward as allies, as support in navigating these times. And as I invite that energy, stones show up and they make themselves obvious. They get my attention. Now, what does that mean? That can mean I am walking down an aisle and I just get a ping of, oh, look at that. Like maybe something sparks out of the corner of my eye. Maybe I hear a sound that I turn back to look at what was that sound, and then my eyes are drawn to the table. Maybe I get a feeling in my heart that I should look more closely at something. I mean, there's many different ways that my attention is brought to something. And that's really largely what I experience as I'm moving through. It's very easy to stop at every table, but what we're looking for isn't always at every table. I think the stones this last time kind of gave me a laugh and said about 90% of what is here has nothing to do with the work you're doing, what you're doing, your journey in life. They're not for you. Like almost like just this playful, like, don't waste your time. It's just a distraction for you. We're here for something else. About 10% is there for me to pay attention to. And then from that 10% is really just like a fraction of a percentage that is what is really meant for me to give a very close look, thoughtful consideration, and smaller fraction that actually comes home. Yeah. As we let ourselves just kind of step back and realize that we don't need to pay attention to everything, it's much easier to start filtering the energy of what is all there, to let ourselves just be more in our own space. In last week's episode, I shared with you how often I like to just pop in headphones, just listen to some music as I'm walking, let myself be in my own space. This year, I didn't do that. I didn't feel like I needed to. I was able to just move through and let myself keep going. I think one of the things that's really important to remember is that it is very easy to overbuy. It is very easy to get distracted by everything that's happening. One of the last things that I have found very helpful when shopping at events such as this is to come in and just do a sweep of the entire area. Now, these shows are huge and it gets hard to do that because by the time you get through, you wonder where you started. in what you saw. So segmenting things into smaller areas, go through one space and then go back through and take a closer look. But it helps to organize what's all there and where you experience different things so that you can remember later, because there are very often things will stay in our memory and we'll wonder, where was that now? And sometimes if we can kind of tick through our mind and reorganize our walkthrough, we can reconnect with where something is. So that helps with a lot of the distraction piece. It helps with organizing and it helps with not overbuying, which is very, very easy to do. All right. So I think I will wrap this up here. My goodness, I feel like I could just keep talking. This show was really beautiful. It was absolutely joyful. And I'm so deeply grateful that I chose this year to return to the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show. I will very likely be back again next year, and I can't wait. It's just so much fun. If you were there and you have stories you want to share, please share them in the comments. And if you made it this long through the whole video, thank you. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, share it with your friends, and leave me a comment. I'd like to hear your stories. I wish you a beautiful day, sacred friend. And as always, shine brightly. Bye for now.